What's up everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang GT. This is a premium, finished off in Oxford white. MSRP is just over $58,000. Huge shout out to Mooresville Ford for providing this Mustang for me today. Definitely take a look at their website. That link is down in the description. So this GT is powered by the Gen 4 5-liter Coyote V8. This model is paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission. It pumps out 480 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 3,800 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Top speed is 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 16 gallons. You'll expect to see around 15 miles per gallon in the city, 24 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 107 inches. Its overall length is 189.4. It has a width of 81.9, a height of 55, and its ground clearance is 5.7 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for the all-new Ford Mustang, it does resemble the last generation in a few aspects, but we have a little bit more of a modern design to it, a little bit of a twist with this newer model. So up front, with the Mustang logo front and center with the gloss black, there are plenty of cutouts to provide a lot of cooling. There's also some small spotlights within that grille, and again, everything is gloss black, even for that surround. Now in the lower section, there's more cutouts along with the sensor for the distance pacing. We have some more trim accents on both sides, a small spoiler too that runs along the entire lower section, and this even has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. The turn signals have that sequential design to them, just like previous models, and I really like how thin that housing is. Definitely blends in very nicely up front. And then for the hood, this has a functional hood scoop, finished off in gloss black. Really nice lines that run down both sides. Not as bulky as some of the previous hoods, so I think it's a little bit more sleek and flows nicely, especially with this all-new front-end design. Now, as we work our way to the side, this particular model has the upgraded wheels. It's a staggered setup, so they're 19 by 9 up front, 19 by 9.5 in the rear, and we have the upgraded Brembo brake calipers. They are 6 pistons up front, 4 pistons in the rear. This also has that 5.0 badge just behind that front tire, gloss black for the side mirrors, even gloss black for the roof. So it gives it that distinctive separation with the antenna up top as well. And for the side profile, as you can tell, resembles the last generation very closely. We have some lines in the lower section, as well as a very large lower side skirt. Very nice lines in the upper section, as well as the rear fender arch too. And then as we work our way to the back, this has the deck lid spoiler, finished off in gloss black. Very nice design elements to it, as well as this back end here is shaped slightly different than the previous models. Now this has a backup camera, GT badge front and center, LED taillights with that same turn signal as you saw up front. And then in the lower section, all of the parking sensors, as well as the reverse light, and then that dual exhaust system. And a really cool feature to show with this Mustang, we do have remote start. That is not the special feature. Just lock it, double tap on that, and it will start right up. But check this out. Once the vehicle has warmed up and now it has that lower idle, just hit unlock and lock. Do it one more time. That is a really cool trick to do. From there, you can just push on the double tap button for the engine start, and that will actually shut it off. So a really cool party trick to have for your all new Ford Mustang. You can do that without being in the vehicle, which is awesome. Now what's also cool is we have the button up underneath, so that way you can gain access to the back very easily. With the back seats up, there's a decent amount of space. There's a speaker for that sub on one side. You can also fold down the back seats, so that makes this a much more practical and everyday style sports car. And then underneath the floor, you could probably put a spare tire there if you really wanted to, but as you can tell, you can use that for extra storage as well as some other tool kits. And then that trunk lid is very lightweight, so that is easy to close. As we work our way to the interior now for the all-new Ford Mustang, as you can tell, it was locked. You can grab that door handle and it will unlock. We have the Ember Glow for the interior, some carbon fiber-like material surrounding the release handle. There's all of the window and side mirror adjustments, a little bit of storage, and then one speaker. And that Ember Glow makes its way to these two-tone seats that are heated and ventilated. We have the manual adjustment for the recline and incline with the automatic control to move the seat forwards and backwards. Now this is a 4-seater. There's a grab handle on the back of the seat that you can use in order to bring that backrest forwards. From there, you do have to move the seat the rest of the way. And at 5'10", that gives me some room to hop into these back seats where honestly, it's not that bad. You're not buying this for a full 4-seater. But we have armrests there, a little bit of storage. As you can tell, my head is up against the headliner. It's really just if I need a ride around town, or you have kids and you want a practical sports car that they can fit into. So it is nice to have them. We have the 50-50 split, so you can fold down just one if you need to, and then lock those into place. And just use this for extra storage if you need it. And then you can easily hop out, put that seat back into its position, and then we'll use the adjustments down below to slide the seat back. But let's move on to the black leather steering wheel. More of that carbon fiber like trim in the lower section, pony logo front and center. Let's fire this back up though. We have that red button down below. And let's take a listen to more of those revs. And coming back to the all-new digital gauge cluster, for this current setup, this is normal. On the left side, there's the tach and engine temperature. Right side has miles per hour and the fuel level. And then right in the middle, you can use these buttons on the right side of the steering wheel to go through that info, where there's also voice commands along with volume, and then you have different adjustments for the steering wheel. So you have normal along with comfort and sport, just depending on how you would like to drive. Now the rest of that information, there's the trip information, fuel economy, along with TPMS, a lot of vitals that you can go through and monitor just depending on what you would like to see. And so that is it for that particular screen. Over on this left side, there's all of the cruise control settings, distance pacing, there's mode, and the lane keeping assist, along with being able to activate cruise control. This also has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters as well. And then in order to change that gauge cluster, we'll simply just push on the pony logo down below, and that will bring up your cluster theme that you can go into. So let's change it into sport mode, where you will notice it change. A little bit different of a design with the tach and the speedometer. There's also track, where now we have that tach in the upper section, which is really neat to see. There's a calm screen too, so just if you want to pull up miles per hour. And then the last one is a tribute to some of the older Mustangs. We have the Fox body from 87 to 93. So it's going to give you more of that analog display. And from what I've been told, at nighttime, the backlit for this particular setting is going to be green, as a lot of Fords were back in that time frame. So you will have that old school looking design at nighttime, which I think a lot of people will like. So it definitely mimics that old school analog display, which is nice to see. Now on the left side of the steering wheel, there's the trunk release, the headlight controls, and dimmer switches. There's one air vent. This model also has the Bang & Olufsen sound system. You'll notice the logo up on the dash there. And then for the entire infotainment system, this is an all-new screen. If you push on the home icon, this is where you can view a split style with navigation, music, and phone. And then on the right side, there's settings, features, and apps. So if we start with settings, you have a lot that you can go into and configure just depending on what you'd like to see. You have your center display you can go into, Ford Assistant, even some mobile apps. Just push on home again and that gets you back to here. Now we can go into some features. So there's driver assistance that you can go into and go through all that information, auto hold, cruise control. You have a lot that you can turn on and off depending on what you need. My Mustang, even an owner's manual. And then for the last one, there's different apps. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can go through those as needed. And as you've been able to tell, the right side of the screen has an additional information that you can scroll through. Now, if there's something that you want to pull up in full screen, let's say you want to go into the navigation, push on this small arrow right here, and now you have the nav on that left side in full screen, and you still have the rest of this information to scroll through on the right. So it's really cool, just depending on what you would like to see. And then for the lower section, that entire piece is fixed for that screen. So you can easily get into your heated and ventilated seats. You have your temperature adjustments that you can go into, heated steering wheel, fan speed that you can go into, along with temperature and where you would like the air to go, along with some defrosters. So it's a really easy system to use, very intuitive. There's 2 air vents underneath that. And then for the rest of the toggles, pushing on that pony logo again gets you back to this screen where we went into the cluster theme. Now, if we go into the track apps, there's the acceleration timer, brake performance, lap timer, and then check this out. This even has the drift brake. So for the e-brake on this particular model, if I pull this all the way up and then back down, that is how you engage the parking brake. If I just push it straight down, that is how the parking brake is now off. But if you engage the drift brake, that will deactivate it basically to where now we have no e-brake. You pull it all the way up, that's 100%, and then you can go back to 0 basically without it engaging once you release it. So you can use this to drift your Mustang, which is awesome to see. There's even line lock too. So that way you can burn the rear tires when you're at the drag strip and get this ready to go. Now underneath that, there's some auxiliary gauges, so you can go through all of this and pull up the information that you would like to see while you're doing some performance driving. There's also a custom mode, so based on your driver profile, you can set all of this up as you would like to, and then we have the cluster theme, which I already showed. Now there's also traction control, hazards, even a favorites button too, so you can edit your favorites and have that set up. There's another defroster, power and volume for the radio. Now this also has wireless charging with some more auxiliaries, and then with the 10-speed automatic, let's put it into reverse. You get the large backup camera with the sensors on that right side. There's also drive and the manual setting to use those paddle shifters. We have that e-brake again, 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage for the center armrest with another auxiliary, and then a good amount of space in the glove box there. There's a rear view mirror, dome lights, even a sunglass holder too. And then as far as visibility goes from the driver's seat, very similar to previous models. Really hasn't changed much, so it's easy to see over both shoulders. As we set off now behind the wheel for the all-new Ford Mustang, the shifts are so smooth with this 10-speed. I've been able to drive a lot of Mustangs. I've been in the automatics before. So far, this seems much smoother than previous 10-speed models. That was one minor complaint that I had with the performance vehicles from Ford. Having that 10-speed just seemed a little bit too much for sports cars versus some of their trucks and towing, things like that. But so far, this seems a lot smoother with the 10 gears. Now I'll just put it into the normal drive setting and we'll see what it's like. I will come back to that once I have a few more miles on this. But the all-new Ford Mustang is finally here. I'm really digging the new style. Now it is based a lot off of the previous model, just with basically a cosmetic change. There are some other improvements, of course, but it shares a lot of the same platform, I believe, as the previous Mustang. We have a lot of cool interior tech that's really giving it more of that modern look. Every manufacturer is going towards some large screens like this, just to give you a bigger size, more tech to go through. And for under $60,000, honestly, this is a really good option to go with. It's not a vehicle that's going to really break the bank as far as other performance vehicles go. So you still want that NA 5-liter V8. You can get that in the Mustang without spending an astronomical amount of money. It's still 60 grand, of course. But for the money, it's a good option to go with. So smooth in the shifts. That's cool to see. I have heard that the manual transmission, it shifts a little bit different, a little bit more smoother, so I'm excited to hopefully check out a manual at some point. But the driving experience with this new Mustang, it's what you would expect from a Mustang, to be honest. It's very comfortable and quiet. I love this interior. It definitely gives it a really cool look. We have a few settings that we can go into. The suspension looks like it only has a normal setting, so we don't have any adjustments for that. It does say adaptive dampers for the normal there, but we do have the steering input that of course makes a big difference between comfort and sport there. So for $60,000, you have a sports car that you can break in, take it right to the track, right to the drag strip, and you have a factory vehicle that's ready to go. So it's really neat to see the performance technology and the performance driving that you can do with this as it sits without doing any further modifications. And from second gear, here we go. Hopefully you can hear just how smooth those shifts are. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, with that 10-speed automatic, it seems very, very smooth. It's not consistently shifting. I haven't put too many miles on the car, but I can already feel a difference compared to the previous 10-speed. So I'm not sure if there is a subtle difference, any transmission tuning that was done to the 2024, but with the 10 speeds, it doesn't feel like it's too many now, which I think is nice to see. So you're going to get a little bit better fuel economy too, going into some of the higher gears, especially out on the highway. But now that we are behind the wheel for the $60,000 GT Premium, this is a really nice place to be. I could see spending the money for this. It's a great option in that $60,000 range, especially if you're an American muscle car type of person. And so let's give it another acceleration. Sounds good too. I would really like to take this on some twisty roads, really see how it performs just like it is. Maybe at some point we will be able to do that. But as far as the driving that I'm doing today, I don't have any performance driving to do with this car. But so far it feels very nice, very refined feeling for this Ford, especially with all of the materials on the inside. And we don't have any driving modes for this model, so we don't have anything to configure like that aside from the gauge cluster and the steering and everything like that. So for this model, you just hop in it and you are ready to go. But let's do one more acceleration before we end today's video. I'll put it into drive so that way we can let it shift itself. Very smooth, even under that acceleration. But that's going to wrap it up for today's walk around review and test drive in the 2024 Ford Mustang GT Premium. Once again, huge thank you to Mooresville Ford for providing this Mustang for me today. Check out their website, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and smash that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.